Welcome back to Askewed Reviews. And since this week we are doing the Haunted Mansion movies, we're going to be doing the 2023 comedy, drama, family, horror, mystery, Haunted Mansion. Here is your trivia question for today. What is the name of Ben's old action figure that he tells Travis about? The answer will be at the end of this video. So at the beginning of our film, we meet Ben Mathias, played by Lakeith Stanfield. Ben is an astrophysicist who is working on a camera that can detect dark matter. While at a party, Ben runs into Alyssa. She happens to be a ghost tour guide, and the two of them fall in love quite quickly. Now, after some time, the two of them are unfortunately no longer together. Ben unfortunately hits a bit of a downward spiral, leaving his job and taking over Alyssa's ghost tour. We then hop over to another part of New Orleans where we see a mansion that has recently been purchased. The new owners are Gabby, played by Rosario Dawson, and her son Travis. The two of them find out quite quickly that the house is haunted. So they try to escape and get away from there as quickly as they can. However, though, after a little bit of time, they realize that the haunting will continue to follow them until they come back. Father Kent, played by Owen Wilson, is brought in to try to perform an exorcism on the house. When he realizes that he can't do this alone, he then reaches out to Ben for some assistance. Apparently, Ben's camera might have the ability to actually see ghosts. Father Kent and Ben realize that they are not enough to take on this house, so they reach out for more assistance. They are able to get Harriet, who is a psychic and played by Tiffany Haddish, and Professor Bruce Davis, played by Danny DeVito, who happens to have the blueprints to the house and seems to know quite a bit about its history. So, with everyone working together, they are able to discover that there are 999 ghosts that reside at the Gracie Manor. One of those ghosts is the Hatbox Ghost, which terrorizes the other ones. Now, our heroes will get some assistance from a ghost of their own, one that is a medium that resides within a crystal ball named Madame Leota, played by Jamie Lee Curtis. So, with everyone working together, will they be able to stop the haunting in this mansion? Or will the Hatbox Ghost, Alistair Crump, be able to turn one of them into ghost number 1000? This version of the Haunted Mansion actually came out 20 years after the original one with Eddie Murphy. Justin Simeon is the director for this film. However, the original director was planned to be Guillermo del Toro, and he originally was talking about doing it back in 2010. In fact, it was actually his idea to have the Hatbox Ghost be a major part of it. He planned on having Doug Jones, no surprise there, playing the Hatbox Ghost for his version of the film. In 2015, Ryan Gosling was even in talks with Del Toro about playing a character in the film. No idea who, though. In the film, we actually visit two manors. Gracie Manor, which, if you didn't know, is based off of the Disneyland version of the Haunted Mansion, and Crump Manor, which is based off of the Disney World version of the Haunted Mansion. As I mentioned in the first Haunted Mansion video, the name Gracie, or William Gracie in this film, is based off of Yale Gracie, who was an Imagineer. Now, Crump, or Alistair Crump, actually comes from another Imagineer named Raleigh Crump, both of which worked on the Haunted Mansion ride. This movie not only takes place in New Orleans, Louisiana, it was filmed there as well. If you weren't aware, Alistair Crump, the Hatbox Ghost, is voiced by Jared Leto. When this movie premiered, the WGA and SAG-AFTRA strike had already started, which meant that actors could not show up to premieres. So instead, what Disney did is they had a bunch of actors from the theme parks show up as characters for the red carpet event. Another New Orleans-based Disney movie that they make reference to in this one is The Princess and the Frog. There's a brief sequence where on a U-Haul you can see the skeletal version of Dr. Facilier. There are, of course, lots of references to the actual ride in this movie, one of which you may or may not have noticed is Harriet is sitting in a chair that has a giant back to it, and it's supposed to slightly resemble the Doom buggy, which you ride in on the actual ride itself. This piece of trivia I just find funny. Owen Wilson is in the film, but at no point does he use his famous catchphrase, "Wow." There are some really fun cameos in this film, but two of my favorite definitely have to be Dan Levy as Vic and Winona Ryder as Pat. Vic, by the way, if you don't know, at one point sits down to the piano and you can actually hear him playing the theme to It's a Small World, which is another attraction from Disney. So if you can't get enough of the Haunted Mansion, you've definitely got options. For instance, you can visit any of the Disney theme parks and ride on the ride itself. They did at one point make a video game for it that's not based off of any of the movies. There are quite a few board game options. There are actually some really cool and interesting books related to the Haunted Mansion, and even some comic books. So when it comes to the film Haunted Mansion, I really did enjoy it. I felt that it had some interesting concepts to it, some really good visuals, not that great of a story, unfortunately, but I still do recommend checking it out. And I'm going to give this movie a 3 out of 5. Now, as for the trivia question from the beginning of this episode, what is the name of Ben's old action figure that he tells Travis about? The action figure is called Action Guy, which is more than likely a parody on the action figure Action Man. Now, apparently, what makes Action Guy different is that he fights with a shoe and he has a catchphrase of, "Say it again." I hope you enjoyed this episode of Askewed Reviews. If there is a movie you'd like to see get a review, just mention it in the comments. And as always, like, comment, share, and subscribe.